Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and checking out today's video. And guys, today I want to have another video. I've been doing some videos like this here the last couple of months, but I want to talk to you guys about why or how the future of bass fishing is in a lot more trouble than what we think it is. And if I have to be the one to call this out, I'll take that responsibility, because one of the things I found out about the bass fishing public in general, most anglers are pretty apathetic in terms of, thinking about the future of the sport. There's like a handful of people that really focus on that a lot, but most people are too wrapped up in their daily lives. They don't want to have to think about that. They just want to have a good time fishing out there, and it doesn't get addressed. So I think one of my contributions to the sport is keeping this at the forefront of everybody's mind, because if we don't take action to protect the future sustainability of our sport, we're going to be looked upon by the next generation as some of the most stupid, biggest villains that ever walked this earth in terms of, what people did to bass fishing, simply because of our inaction and our ignorance on the thing. So I want to really bring some things to light today. And I want to bring some stuff to light, but then I want to offer some solutions about what can be done to this. So we're going to get into that today's video, and be really curious to get your guys' feedback on that as well. Also, guys, before we get started, a couple quick housekeeping tips that you guys absolutely probably hate to listen to, or probably fast forward, but it's really what keeps the channel on. Just want to invite everybody to please check out all the 20% off sales that are going on at Tackle Warehouse right now. If you guys are wanting to get some lures or rods and reels or batteries, trolling motors, whatever, I got my link in the description of the video. It's a good way to help the channel with that. And also, guys, anybody interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, you can do that by going to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, and just shoot me a private message. So I really appreciate that. Okay, the reason that the sport is in bigger trouble than we think it is, it's a very complex issue, and there's a lot of different variables to it. It's not just one thing. It's a combination of all this stuff that's sort of like, coming to a head right now pretty quick. And one of the things with that, guys, is I have been like a keen observer of the sport for over 50 years. I've lived it every single day. I've done it for a living since 1984. Been all over the country, fished all the lakes across the country. And one of the things that I've always tried to do is I try to really observe the state of the sport and how it's progressing and how it's doing. And you guys hear me talk about it all the time. I really believe that our fisheries right now are in bigger trouble than they've ever been in. And I'm not saying this to be some negative Nelly. I'm saying this to bring attention to the problem, because if you don't acknowledge the problem, nothing's ever going to get fixed. It's like, you've got to first acknowledge there's an issue before you can do that. And really, the only people that acknowledge that there's issues are the people that are paying attention to those issues. A lot of people don't. So here's what I'm talking about. We're in bigger trouble than we talked about. I've got several different things I want to touch on, then I want to get on the big one there. One of the biggest problems that we have as far as the trouble that the sport is in right now is environmental issues. A lot of people tune out when I talk about this. You can't ever tune out about that. It's like, if you love to fish, if you love to hunt, if you love the outdoors, you have got to educate yourself about environmental issues that pertain to the sustainability of our sport. And there's a lot of environmental challenges that we have right now, guys. There's a lot of different type of pollution going into our lakes. For example, let me give you one example. There's a roofing company in Joplin, Missouri there's a little creek called Turkey Creek that I grew up fishing, and there's a roofing plant nearby that has polluted that creek and basically killed it. There's no fish anywhere near where those pipes are running into the creek from that roofing company. And this is just a small little microcosm. This goes on everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's turkey and chicken plants putting a flume in the lake. It doesn't matter if it's mercury contamination from coal-fired power plants, which is a huge problem in our lake. The sulfur dioxide emissions. There's every single state has different type of pollution problems that affect water quality. And the water quality, one of the reasons that you can't meet a common ground with this is the fact that the ecosystem and the cycle of life and everything that sustains a population of fish from the very bottom, like the plankton and the algae on up to the apex predators, every single part of that is affected, because if you affect one part of that food chain, it eventually affects the entire food chain. And that's one of the things about science that a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to, is when you see some scientists, say that, hey, we've got a problem and this minnow is threatened or whatever, you don't realize that minnow, it's not about just that minnow, it's about the whole food chain and the ecosystem surrounding that particular creature's part in that ecosystem. That is one of the biggest problems we have, and the reason the sport is in more trouble than I have ever seen it is because our lakes are polluted. It's like if they weren't polluted, you'd be able to drink out of them. I've been fishing up in Canada, guys, up in the boundary waters in Canada. You can drink right out of the lake. You can, every time I've been up there, if you want to take a drink, you just take a drink right out of the lake and it's completely fine. You can't do that in the United States. Every freaking lake around here is contaminated and polluted with something. So here's the big issue with it. And this is one of the things I want to dive into, and I want to clarify some stuff because there's a lot of people out there that are in denial of reality about this. I want to talk a little bit about climate change and how it's affecting the future of our bass fisheries, the sustainability of it. First of all, climate change is not a hoax. Climate change is real. It's a scientific reality. If you're one of those people out there that says, oh, the climate's always been changing forever, and those climate scientists are corrupt and they're getting paid for, and it's just a hoax and everything like that, congratulations, because guys, you have bought in to the propaganda that the big oil companies and the big fossil fuel companies have spent billions of dollars over the past 3 decades to perpetuate these false talking points. They've undermined the science, they've muddied the water, they bought off politicians, and they've influenced public opinion that it's simply not true. So I just want to clarify for that. If you're one of those people out there that think climate change is a hoax, then you really need to do your research. You need to study the scientific reality behind it, and you need to understand where you're getting your information from and look at the peer-reviewed sources on that information, because it's not true. Climate change is real. It's here. We see it every single day. Our weather events are getting more radical. I've seen it. I've seen changes in the whole biorhythms and ecosystems around Missouri here over the past 25 years. And it's not that just the climate is always changing. That's the biggest bunch of bullshit there is. We have never seen the incremental massive rise in the amount of CO2 in our atmosphere in direct relationship and direct correlation to the industrial age over the past 100 years. It's like it's off the chart. So you can't say that. But given that, that's just one side thing. One of the things I want to say about this is the reason that climate change and its effects is such, it's going to cause so much trouble in our bass fisheries is just what I talked about. Because when you have climate change issues where temperatures or weather patterns are consistently changing, and you have all the complexities that go behind climate change, what you have is you have disruptions within that cycle. And say, for example, climate change causes one species or this or that species to reproduce or spawn or whatever at a different time than it normally is, then that throws everything else off. And it doesn't work in unison like it has for hundreds of thousands of years. It's like we've interjected some type of a man-made disruption in that cycle. And we're beginning to see it right now. And as that disruption increases and as it affects more of the food chain, you're going to see a complete disruption that leads all the way up to the bass fishing. And the thing about this is a very complex topic. It's not anything that's simple, and you can't see it. And that's one of the things that you'll find out about human behavior is when people can't see something, they don't think it exists. Just because they can't see sulfur dioxide emission in the atmosphere, they don't think it exists, or asbestos or whatever. It's the same with the issues that are affected by climate change. So I would highly encourage everybody to educate yourself on this. look for, look for peer-reviewed mutual consensus on a global scale. And that is where you're going to verify and validate your information with that. But the thing about that is, the only way that we can intervene in this and make changes with this is you have to have politicians in positions of power that form legislation to protect us and reinstate those climate change protection initiatives. And when you have politicians in positions of power that, number one, deny the reality of climate change and deny the reality of pollution and deny the reality that a lot of corporations in this country are polluting our air and water, and then they put politicians in positions of power to do the bidding of the fossil fuel companies, then nothing ever gets done. So number one, we have to have politicians that are in positions of power that can create and pass legislation to protect our fisheries and our planet and our country and the sustainability of our natural world here, so that we can go living. And that's one of the things about it, guys. We don't protect the planet for the planet. The planet is going to spit us out probably pretty soon and throw us away and go on and probably be better off without us. We protect the planet and we address issues like climate change and environmental issues to protect the human species and the other species that share this planet with. We don't do it for the planet. So let's just say, for example, that climate change is a hoax. Let's just go into that fantasy world for a second and say, if climate change is a hoax, why is it bad to get on board with having a greener, cleaner planet with green energy technologies? The United States is getting left behind right now by other countries that are developing and implementing green energy technology, because they know that burning oil and coal is something that should have been. It's relegated to 1930. It's 2025. We have artificial intelligence now. We can do better than burning fossil fuels to power, our energy needs in this country. But again, when you have politicians in the positions of power that discredit and undermine that scientific reality because they're beholden to the fossil fuel industry, nothing ever gets done. So I just wanted to clarify that with that. That's a big, big challenge to it. The other things that we have, guys, that, why fishing's in trouble, we've talked about it before. We got the exploding technology. This exploding technology, in correlation with the information age being so accessible to bass fishing information, is creating just a level of skilled angler set in this country, an entire group, an entire community overall, that the anglers are just, they're night and day better than they've ever been. They are so good compared to what they've been in the past years, and there's more and more of them. So when you have your angler skill set rising all the time, and you have more and more anglers competing on a finite amount of lakes and a finite amount of fish, for a finite amount of fish, and you still have a lot of people that keep and eat bass, you still have a lot of bass that are dying from delayed tournament mortality, anybody can see that's not sustainable. With that, that's completely not sustainable. And then finally, just the cost of fishing, guys. The cost of fishing is going through the roof. It's like these tariffs are going to jack fishing prices and boat prices up through the roof, in the foreseeable future. But in the longer term, in the big picture, we have got to stop just accelerating this cost of going bass fishing. I mean, back when I started fishing back in 1984, the top of the line, I'm talking the finest Ranger bass boat that you could buy, cost $15,000. Now $100,000 boats are the norm. Where's it going to be in 20 years from now? Are we going to have $300,000 boats? So that is what I'm talking about, is we've got to get back to the simplicity in fishing, and by removing technology from the fishing and implementing, whatever needs to be implemented specifically by the tournament organizations to reduce the costs and make it more affordable, that is really going to, take care of that issue in a big way. So here's what we need to do. I just talked about everything that was bad. Let's talk about what we need to do. The first thing, the fishing community in general, the people that influence this fishing community, which are the tournament organizations to a large degree, social media to a large degree, YouTube influencers, whatever, but tournament organizations are sort of the vocal mouthpiece of that. They have got to start implementing a responsible conservation and environmental message and start hammering that home all the time. That is the responsible thing to do. That if there's nothing else, that is the responsible thing to do. The second thing with that is this is not a political video, and I'm not taking sides. I'm not telling you how to vote or who you need to vote for. But what I'm saying is that as a angling community and as an outdoor community, if you love to fish and you love to hunt and you love the outdoors and you love wild places and you want to ensure that we still have wild places, then we have clean air and water, you have got to pay close attention to the voting record of the people that you decide to vote for. And you got to decide if that's in your best interest or not. If having clean air and water and a sustainable planet for your children is a priority, then you know what to do. If having clean air and clean water and a sustainable planet for your children is not a priority, then I don't know, probably need to reevaluate your worldview if that's your opinion on it. But anyway, the only way that we can make change on a nationwide level that will improve and protect the sustainability of the sport is we have got to have angler-friendly, hunter-friendly, outdoor people-friendly, scientific-minded, critical-thinking individuals in positions of power that create and pass legislation. If we have a bunch of people in there in positions of power that create and pass legislation that don't give a crap about bass fishing, that don't care about hunting, that don't care about being outside, that don't care about the sustainability of our planet and the health and vibrancy of our natural world, if we continue to put people like that in positions of power, we're screwed. Because when you look at it, guys, out of everything else that you have on this planet, you've got two things that are important. Number one is your health, and number two is the ability for this planet to sustain life. If we only got one planet, guys. We're out here in the middle of a freaking universe that's 14 billion light years across, and this is our lifeboat. We don't have any other options. We don't have a second planet we can go to. We have got to be the responsible people that take care of this planet. And if you think that voting for something because you think you're going to get a tax break, or you think voting for something because whatever is more important than the sustainability of this planet to support life, then I don't know what to tell you guys. It's just like somebody's not paying attention with that. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to throw that out there. I think about this stuff a lot. Everybody should. Everybody should be more focused on what they're going to leave behind on this planet than what they have right now. And as somebody that loves the sport as much as anybody that's watching this video, guys, I love the sport of bass fishing. I love being outside. I love the natural world. I love the peace of nature. I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned, and I have been for many, many years. It's just not recently. I have for decades. And I just hope it's not too late to make a change. It's like once you have power structures in motion, it's very hard to change those power structures, especially if there's money behind it. If you look, guys, at the root of everything that's bad, money corrupts everything. And you have to be very careful for that. In the decisions you make in life, everything that you do, always keep that at your top of your mind. Money corrupts everything, and absolute power corrupts everything. And the combination of absolute power and money are the two most evil influences that we have on this planet that we have to be really careful for. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Hope you guys are well. We'll talk later.